right now. We can sync up in 3, 2,
1.
On today's show, Chris Manning and I discuss some more pretty loaded questions. Is Evan Mobley a center? What could the Cleveland Cavaliers get in a possible Jarrett Allen trade? And so much more. We'll discuss it all on today's Locked On Cavs, where we want to thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. As you may know, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can hear all of your teams every day. But thanks for picking us first.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Cavs. I had mentioned before, we're going to be talking about Jarrett Allen and possible destinations for him and, the Evan Mobley question. Joined by my co-host, soon to be retired co-host, Chris Manning. He's not being sent out to pasture, but he is leaving the show. But I am Evan Dammarrell, and before we get started, I want to let you know that today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. With that said, I think this playoff run with Jarrett Allen out and Evan Mobley at center did show the next evolution for the Cavs and how Cleveland should probably play, just because Mobley reportedly, according to The Athletic, told the Cavs not to draft him, and the Cavs ignored it, with the Thunder trying to obtain Mobley.
Can we unpack this for a second? Because there's the other part. There's two parts of this I found very funny in retrospect. Well, three things. Number one, there's three things. Number one, that just is this number one, that does happen. Like that, there is a lot more of that than I think ever even gets out. Like, and obviously that didn't get out in real time, but that does happen. Number two,
it's happened to the Cavs before. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander told him.
Exactly. And like, if people remember Jonathan Givony's mocks, like up until like right before the draft, it was like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, number 8 to the Cavaliers, and then it became Colin Sexton. Okay. The other part of it. Yes. And Dan Gilbert's on Tuscaloosa, all that stuff. Number 3. The Cavs also in that draft, the other guy that they wanted to work out who wouldn't come because he wanted to go too and didn't really want to come here, Jalen Green.
Yep. And obviously Cade didn't work out for them either, because Cade Cunningham assumed he was going first overall. And then the question was it going to be Scotty Barnes, or was it going to be something that Thunder threw the Cavs way? Because again, in the report, like, the Thunder were trying to move heaven and earth to get the number 3 pick to take Evan Mobley. And I think bygones be bygones. The report also did say, like, the situation's fine now, I think, but it also just, like, with this playoff run, especially with Jarrett Allen sitting and Evan Mobley being forced to play the 5 and at times having shooting next to him, depending on if Isaac Okoro was hot or not at the 4 spot. But it just became clear, like, Evan Mobley's a center. And I feel like you agree, Chris, but go ahead and cook. Is Evan Mobley a center?
Yeah, it's time. Like, we saw it at the end of the Celtics series. I don't really want to see him not playing center full time anymore. Maybe you have some lineups where you have your backup center play with him if you want to go double big. I mean, the Wolves find ways. Obviously, they run a little more big, so maybe that's not the best example. But, like, I want to see Evan Mobley play center. And in a way, I think the Cavs maybe did him a disservice by waiting this long to get here and having their hand forced. Like, Chet Holmgren got thrown off of a Jones fracture and missing his whole rookie year, got thrown to the deep end and did pretty darn well for the most part playing center. Victor Wembanyama did the same thing, and like, his team wasn't very good, but that guy's awesome. And maybe Evan Mobley's not going to end up being as good as those guys, but I believe in his talent. I think that guy has all defensive player of the year talent as a center. Like, I think his offensive talent is as a center in the modern NBA. It's not as a 4 operating next to another big when you're playing 30, 35 minutes a game together in the playoffs. Kind of just got to throw him to the deep end at a certain point. He looked more comfortable in space. His skills are better when he's starting at the elbow or above the elbow and not on the block. Like, it is time to embrace the modernity of Evan Mobley and what makes him special and what could make him special. It's as a center. And look, he's going to have some growing pains next year, but maybe you could have avoided those if you just played him at center earlier. But, like, I think it's just time. I think he has to be your starting center at the beginning of next year. I'm not really interested in them running that. I would be more interested in them running back Mitchell and Garland than it would be them running back Mobley and Allen, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think that's just as maybe, like, nice the luxury of having Allen is like that security blanket because, like you said, I do think it's a bit of a disservice just to kind of not throw Mobley into the wolves right away and just kind of force him to play center and grow in a ball because we did see, especially against Boston down the stretch when the Cavs were leaning on him a lot more heavily as they should. He's having some pretty awesome games playing center, but like he was gassed. Like the physicality of it, I think the demand of it, and also just like maybe getting way more
Also had an injury. Also like we
had an
think he was
ankle
hurt.
injury.
Yeah.
He had a tweaked ankle, which he played through it, of course, but he, like you said, if they had thrown him into the Wolves deep end a little bit earlier, if they had exposed him more to those type of situations in lineups, and the season's tough just because of the knee injury and everything that he missed a lot of time, because the Cavs did find a lot of success of running singular big lineups with one of the guards and then shooting surrounding everything, and like that's the way to do it. I think maybe it's a coaching thing where you can afford to kind of make the changes, but I agree with you. Like, if he's not your starting center on opening night, the only justification I can think of is somehow Brook Lopez from 5 years ago just came in a time machine and said, I'm going to come play for Cleveland. And he's comfortable playing 20 to 25 minutes a night where he starts the game next to Evan Mobley as a four-spacing big. They eventually switch Mobley over to the 5 and just kind of get creative with it. But Allen's not a plus shooter. Mobley, I would say, is not a plus shooter, although he tries to take attempts. And I think that just kind of makes Allen the casualty in this situation because the Cavs really can't afford to be complacent with their front line. And, you know, like an extra touch of modernity to this team with a very modern, atypical big man makes this team a lot harder to defend and also just much more potent offensively.
Yeah, look, that Brook Lopez thing isn't happening. So it's
yeah, it's like
it's not. It's not. So like it's
like Jonas Valanciunas signs on the cheap. It's the only way you could do it.
But even then, like
Valanciunas is 15 to 20 minutes a night.
But even then, isn't he just coming off the bench?
Well, no, he's a guy who wouldn't finish games if he'd be in the starting lineup just so Mobley isn't having to deal with playing the 5 the entire time. And like that's just like it's training wheels, I guess.
But isn't the point? It's like it's year 4. He's about to sign probably going to sign a rookie max year extension. Like I don't care about training wheels anymore. Like I don't like it's kind of it's like we're getting that we're take. How do you take what? Yeah, but like it's year 4. It's kind of just like you're getting paid a lot of money. Like it's kind of time. Like let's embrace everything it gives you. Understand the limits. Find the personnel we can to support him. What do you use a wrench to take off training wheels? Let's get the wrench off. We're throwing the training wheels in the trash. The trash man's taking them out, and we're full steam ahead with this. I think that's the only way forward here.
There's a lot of steps to playing Evan Mobley playing center, I guess, more than we realize. But it's like Jarrett Allen is probably the most out of all the guys that could be moved, other than like JV Bickerstaff moving from the sidelines to either like a front office
another sideline
relegated there, or he ends up like Jamal Mosley's lead assistant in Orlando because they're so tight. Other than that, does it feel like Allen is just the most likely guy to be out of Cleveland in a different uniform next season?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it feels like he
have a $20 million big man coming off your bench. That's just mismanagement for a team that's getting ready to grow up and contend.
Yeah, and it's like you have this guy who even his rookie year, there was the Windy thing in the first story. It's like they wondered if him and Allen could play together, and like that was the thing. Mobley's camp wondered that, and like it's kind of hit its peak, and we understand its limitations, and Mobley's never going to spread his wings unless Jarrett Allen's on another team. Like it's kind of time to let Mobley spread his wings. It's time to find out. And if you're going to pay him in particular, you can't pay Evan Mobley a max contract and let him be this. It's time to just let him spread his wings, and for that reason, I think it's absolutely time to just let it go, and it's time to just go fully that way. I don't see another reason. It has to be like it's unfortunate. But that's the nature of the business. Like that's the nature of the world we live in. It's like Jarrett Allen's probably just going to be on another team next year for the simple reason of that's how this works.
Well, I will say Evan Mobley versus Jarrett Allen will be a kind of fun big ticket event next season, especially if Darius Garland is on another team too. It's always going to be fun to see that. And if you want to get a big ticket to any of these upcoming games facing former Cavaliers, you should check out today's first sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets or just regular season tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off of a game. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time makes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets easy. What I love most about Game Time is all the goodies that it comes with, including priority, which means last-minute deals, and you can save up to 60% off last-minute purchases for sports, concerts, comedy, theater events, and so much more. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout, so you know what you're paying. Seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And the best feature of all, I think, is the Game Time ticket coverage, where your purchase is covered by the ticketing industry's most flexible customer service policy. So, folks, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Cavs, your number one Cleveland Cavaliers podcast, where we cover all things Cleveland Cavaliers on Chris Manning's retirement tour. While you're getting your fill on us, I gotta ask, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Do you have to you should just, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel, which is programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you the can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Again, Locked On Sports Today is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which features your team every day. And we are back with more Locked On Cavs, talking about trading Jarrett Allen. And I think the team that is going to show up the most, it's been showing up. They've been showing up for quite a while when it comes to trading Allen. God, even since leading up to the deadline this year, it's the New Orleans Pelicans.
And I think even the year before that, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you could be right. It was either them or the Raptors. And then the Raptors traded for Pirtle and then signed him to decent money where they're content with their center situation, just how they're building around Scotty Barnes. But when it comes to the Pelicans, you're not going to get you're not going to get the farm, because I think they have some guys that make sense for the Cavs. Chris is on highlighting my trade right now.
Yeah, because you Evan, I got to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. I love you. You've thrown me some corkers. And I almost want to brace myself in case I need to smoke a cigarette or something. Well, holy no! Okay, buddy. If this is a heist. The Cavs are going to jail for grand larceny. Read the trade. I'm gonna.
For Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert, and George Niang. You throw in the draft picks as well to make it work.
They don't have draft picks.
No, the Cavs. You have to.
They don't have draft picks.
This is what I'm getting at. Is you have to parlay a third team into it, but
how they need 2 firsts for that. They need 2 firsts for that.
Depends on how you feel about Allen. Just because, let's circle back to Allen real quick before we get too much into the weeds about my brain just shutting off while proposing these trades. Allen, I'd say, is their most attractive trade asset. He had best season of his career. Didn't finish with the All-Star honors. Didn't have all defensive honors. Finished 17 votes short of getting second team All Defense. But I think is an attractive trade asset. I think it's pretty clear from a lot of the reporting that he's going to be a guy that is inquired by a lot of teams about, because I think he makes sense with quite a few teams, especially with the price point and the eventual cap spike that comes with the TV deal. But an ideal Brandon Ingram for Jarrett Allen swap doesn't work, because you have to make the money work there. That's why you have to conclude Karis LeVert. But if you're able to somehow pull Herb Jones out of this, that's a steal, as you had noted. Trey Murphy III is completely off the table. That's why, based on reporting of Mark Stein and everyone else, that the Pelicans are looking to move on from Brandon Ingram and not extend him, is because they want to pay Trey Murphy the money they pay Brandon Ingram instead, because they're trying to be mindful of their money, and also they have CJ McCollum on quite a bit of cash for the next several years. But yeah, that's obviously your preferred scenario for Cleveland, but the more realistic one is it's probably going to be similar to talking about that Darius Garland for Brandon Ingram swap. It's likely going to be the Cavs, including Karis LeVert's expiring salary to make the money work, is Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert for Brandon Ingram. No picks or anything like that. The Cavs take a swing on a guy who have had an off season last year and just kind of been an awkward fit next to Zion Williamson this entire time, to see if you can maximize him next to Donovan Mitchell. And the Pelicans get their guy, and then Karis LeVert is just included his salary to make the trade work because LeVert's just a chunkier contract on an expiring deal.
Yeah, I don't see it. You don't have the picks, and like New Orleans already has a bunch of picks. Like you would really like, yeah, like I don't, I don't see it.
So do you think the Pelicans are just like? Do you agree though? It's going to probably be like if the Pelicans are the only team that really put up an offer the Cavs are willing to consider. Do you think it's going to be Allen and LeVert for Ingram, or do they get creative and look elsewhere?
I think it'd be like Allen and LeVert for Ingram is like the Pelican structure. There's probably other offers. Like I do think there could be a market for him. Like what that exactly looks like, we can get into and what makes you happy. I don't think the Herb Jones, like if the Cavs got Ingram and like anything where the Cavs get like that kind of return back, you're like heck yeah, like you're thrilled. You've gotten everything you want back to Saran Mitchell. You've really graded your roster and made this other, like you swindled another team. If that happens, like congratulations, like give Kobe Altman the Executive of the Year award right now. I don't think those things are exactly grounded in like what is practical. Like I think the realistic thing is something where it's again like Ingram and LeVert but even LeVert, it's like I understand his salary kind of has to be there, but it's like how is New Orleans like? Are you having to accommodate them in some way for him? Because like, do they really want him? Are you having to route him to a third team? Like, that's where I think that gets dicey as well. I think it's possible a lot of these trades for the Cavs, and it could be with Garland as well. Could be three teamers just because some of the salaries the Cavs want are. Well, that and the Cavs, some of the salaries the Cavs might want to move to in some of these trades are salaries the team they're going to be trading with that also is trying to improve. Like some of these teams aren't going to want LeVert. They're not going to want Niang. Like you're going to have to find ways around that, and that's finding a third team to be the dumping ground, and then it's giving up second round. Like some of these trades are going to look a little funky, I think, when they get done.
Yeah, and I think it's just not going to be as clean of a return as Cleveland would hope. But unlike like the Garland question of like, could we? I don't want to say stretch this out, but like maybe test the waters of this pairing again with a different coaching situation, and then hit reset next year if it doesn't work. Like I agree, like you have to pull the ripcord on Evan Mobley playing the 5. You can't have a $20 million big man backing him up and Jarrett Allen. Like it's gonna be clunky, it's gonna be weird. And I agree, like if you're able to get Herb Jones, like that's your ideal partner next to Evan Mobley as like that pseudo 4-3, mostly a 3, but he plays the 4 next to Mobley, and then you can get creative with the lineups with like if you're able to find a point guard elsewhere to match with Mitchell, or you play Mitchell at point, you find a 2 guard to put next to Mitchell that is comfortable with not having the ball in their hands, and then Jones soaks up those 3-4 spots, and maybe you find like a 2-3 that could start at the 3 for you a la Max Strus. But I just think it's going to be tough because obviously Allen hasn't publicly demanded the trade. People are reading.
He had followed the. I think he had followed them on Instagram Instagram. Yeah, saw that on Reddit.
Social media is always the biggest telltale of everything. The guy who has publicly admitted that he deleted all social media after last year's playoff run and probably didn't come back this year to social media because of the rib injury stuff, especially the reporting that he refused to take a shot to numb the pain there, which makes sense if you're Allen, but also if you're a dumb fan, like your fan brain will turn on and start screaming at him. But it's going to be tricky, but we can explore other trade destinations for Allen. There's a couple like Memphis and Chicago, I think that have been listed based on just like articles I've read and reporting I've read, and also could be like interesting-ish spots, especially the Bulls are wanting to continue to be weird with it. But if you are really plagued by the idea of the Cavs breaking up the core 4, what kind of trades the Cavs could get, you should check out today's other sponsor, BetterHelp. As I had mentioned before, today's episode of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by BetterHelp. We all carry around different stressors, big and small. When we keep them bottled up, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get things off of your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just complete a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. HELP.com/LOCKEDNONBA. Okay, we are back, and I thought about this a bit because the Grizzlies have been a team that have popped up. I think the Bulls are a team I read about as well that could be interested in Allen, and you're then kind of entering the market of, is Allen like an all-star level player? Is he able to tap into that, like sustain the season he had this year for another several years? Is he able to maybe tap into what he showed the Cavs or the NBA in 2021? Or do you view him in the vein of, he's a fringe all-star but like a very high-end role player? And like, do you think he's kind of in that spot, or am I putting him in a box a little bit?
I think Jarrett Allen's a really, really good player. I enjoy watching like a Jarrett Allen. I mean, like similar to what we talked about with Mobley. I think watching Jarrett Allen as like the only center in space is really fun to watch. Like I think, but I think his game is a little more simple. I think him in and that's not even a bad thing. It's just his game is pretty straightforward. I think you get him in a situation where there's space and he can run and dunk and do pretty standard Jarrett Allen things. Like I think that would be good for him. I think he is a high end role guy. I think could he make another All-Star team? Sure. I think it's probably unlikely. I think it's possible, but I think he's a really high-end role guy who's going to make a lot of money, and that he's going to be a guy who can help a team win basketball games. I think that's a pretty good reality for him, but I think him as like the only center on a team with spacing would be a really good outcome for him as a player, in the same way it'd be good for Mobley. I think both of them kind of, like, yes, there's some defensive upside you get with them, but I think there's too much overlap with the way the game is being played right now.
Yeah, I think that's just the overlap thing is key, and I think we're glad on the same page. We're on the same page in terms of just like giving an archetype to Jarrett Allen. I think, yeah, again, if like, God willing, if he's on a bad team, he could make an all-star appearance based off of that. If he still, has his athleticism and is in like his peak in terms of just where he's at physically too. But it makes you think, like, if it's a team like Memphis where it's not the cleanest fit.
He's a back. He might be a backup at Memphis is the thing, because like it's all the stuff you read about them is that like Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably just going to start at the 5 for them. So like, are they giving up real stuff for like a $20 million backup who's extension eligible? I don't know.
Well, technically speaking, when this team is fully healthy, would you consider Marcus Smart a $20 million backup, or would you say Marcus Smart starts for them?
I mean, he got hurt a bunch this year, so it's like I don't really know.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, when this team's healthy, like, you have Jaw, you have Bane, you have Triple J. Like, that's like your core foundation there. Then like you plug and play the pieces around them. And I agree. Like, maybe Allen is a backup. Maybe he's a guy who starts just to absorb some of the blows, and they let Jaren Jackson Jr. play more of the 5. Like, I think.
I get what you're saying.
Like they made Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. a very tangible pair, and Jaren Jackson Jr. won Defensive Player of the Year off of that.
But I could see where we're like, not, let's just say like this happens, right? And like, let's just say it's Jarrett and Marcus are off the bench. I could see a world much more easily where Marcus closes and Jarrett does not.
Fair. But my question then is if like Memphis really wanted to kick the tires on Jarrett Allen, like what if the offer was Marcus Smart and they either included this year's first or a future first-round pick, because it's the Grizzlies are looking to bounce back from being one of the worst teams in basketball because they had almost their entire roster out with injuries for the entire season. And I think like if it's a Marcus Smart would intrigue me. I think if you are sure you're moving on from Darius Garland, because Smart next to Mitchell, I don't hate the fit. You're not getting a ton of scoring or anything, but like you have that bulldog on defense who can be the guy who counterbalances some of maybe just like either Mitchell having to do more on offense because it's more hyper focused around him, or just the fact that like you have a pretty reliable guard who also just plays rock solid defense.
At the very least, what I would say is you're getting the attitude guy that this team felt like it needed at times the last couple of years, and whatever else you're getting that. I don't know how much that's worth. I don't know if it's worth what you're getting, and he's a little older and had some injury issues and stuff, but you're getting that, and if they felt they valued that, then sure. I mean, I could see them talking themselves into that in some way.
Well, speaking of guys that like maybe have higher value, like the Bulls are super. The demand was I believe either a first or multiple firsts for Alex Caruso, but if the Cavs, like if the Bulls are serious, like they would make sense for Allen just because like their starting center was Andre Drummond, but also like Vucevic was hurt last year. That Vucevic is old and not as good as he once was, but like he is on a cheaper contract. But if like the offer from Chicago was Vooch, Caruso, and I think Chicago has the 11th pick of the draft, would you accept that for Jarrett Allen or no?
Say that again.
Nikola Vucevic, Alex Caruso, and Chicago's 2024 first-round pick, which is the 11th overall pick right now.
Let me look up Vooch. I don't think I want Vooch's contract.
I think he's making $12 million.
No, I think he's making more than $12 million. There's no
wrong. He's making 18.5,
yeah.
20 million, 21 million.
Yeah, I'm good on paying. When you're gonna pay Mobley, yeah, I'm kind of good on paying Vooch $20 million as he is 33 and is gonna not be like he's not a good defender. Like I'm good. I like this isn't a good draft either. Like like yes, Caruso's really good, useful guy for you, but I'm good on that.
Caruso's the crown jewel in that trade. Like if you're getting Alex Caruso out of that, like you're pleased as punch. I think if he's either playing off the ball or starting next to Donovan Mitchell in your future starting five. I think that's just kind of the murkiness of it too. Is like exploring like all these trades or just like ideas and stuff. Like when looking at these teams, they're like, yeah, it makes sense, but like the return just on investment for the Cavs isn't going to be what they're hoping for because they're giving up a guy that they clearly value much more than what they're getting, and it just kind of makes me circle back to the idea of like it's probably or most likely going to be like that Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen swap for Brandon Ingram, and the Cavs roll the dice and try to see if they can give Brandon Ingram a fresh situation and just a fresh start, and give Allen a situation where he is clearly wanted, and the Pelicans want to put him next to Zion more than anything. But yeah, no Herb Jones, of course.
Yeah, I can at least understand like the Ingram thing though, and like in theory, whatever that ultimately could look like I at least can understand it. It's like even if there's some questions I would have, there's at least like an upside to that I would understand. Whereas like with Vooch, it's just like I don't want to be the team paying Vooch the next couple of years. At least like with Ingram, you have to pay him too, which is a concern in its own right with his injury issues. But like that's a guy who's on like a Team USA team. He just made an All-Star team and a little younger, and you can at least like talk yourself into something. It's a little harder to do that with like Vooch and like a role guy and like a bad draft pick. It's like it's at least that other option. I can get myself a little more excited, I think.
Yeah, it's just tricky, man. Like I just don't know like the most realistic place for Jarrett Allen. Like a clean fit. Like Garland, there's like a couple clean fits. Like it's San Antonio, Orlando makes sense. I think Brooklyn makes a ton of sense too. Just in terms of, like, I think the Nets suck, need to blow it up, but that's just me, too. But, like, Allen, he is, I don't want to say a dinosaur, but he is kind of a dying breed where big men like him that don't have outside shooting or, like, passing or just, like, any of those.
I don't agree with that. But like, no, because, look, Derek Lively can't shoot for anything, and look what he just did in the playoffs. Like, you can be that, but it's like you need to be in a spot where you're not playing with another big and you can do your thing. Like, you can have an effect, but it has to, like, Isaiah Hartenstein can't shoot, and was an effective playoff center. Like, Mitchell Robinson was an effective playoff center. He kicked Jarrett Allen's butt a year ago. It's just context and situation dependent. He needs to get somewhere.
I think that's fair. It's just, like, the market just may not be as robust as the Cavs.
Sure.
Just despite the fact that, like, Allen is a very, very good player, very high-end role player, TV on All-Star, but, like, just looking from a pure lens of a trade, because like it's clear that Evan Mobley needs to be the center. Like the Cavs just aren't going to get the return they're likely hoping for, and I think again this is like a bit of a tough question and maybe a bitter pill to swallow, but like it's hard to say like the Cavs are going to be coming out with like all-star level talent in exchange for Jarrett Allen or Darius Garland, or they may have to get creative, like you said, in three-teamers to like really move some pieces, or they find ways just to maximize their opportunities around Donovan Mitchell and really hope that Mitchell and Mobley are the two big enough stars that you just have a collection of high-end role players that just maximize that duo's potential.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out in the next couple months. This is going to be the whole Cavs summers waiting to see how this and Garland and everything else obviously plays out. But the Mitch Allen one in particular and what people get, I think people are going to have some feelings on one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. But on our way out, guys, and listen to this as many times, because if you don't forget what Chris's voice sounds like when he finally just goes on to the Valhalla of sports podcasting. But On our way out, I wanted to remind.
Is that what the
everyone
is that what the just basketball show is? Is it just the Valhalla Sports Podcasting?
I mean, do you and Brendan like put on war paint and fight each other to the death every episode?
Yeah, pretty much. In
Oh,
West,
there you
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Valhalla Sports Podcasting, folks. So, on our way out, I wanted to remind everyone that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Just go to the Locked On Sports Today channel on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. I'm Evan. That's Chris. See him in Valhalla. See me on Locked On Cavs. But until next time, we'll be back soon to talk about Kobe Altman's end of season media availability. God knows what that is, and also just JP Bickerstaff. Will he stay or will he go? Who knows? Just based on what Brian Windhorst said.